This year at SHOT Show, in my final moments at the show, I came across a booth called Jacob Grey Firearms. It was a company I'd never heard of, but apparently they were making a new 2011, AKA double stack 1911. Now, on a brief examination, I actually thought, for the money, I'm pretty intrigued by this. But it does bring up one important question. Why would anyone buy this gun from an unknown company when, for the same money, you could just go buy the tried and true solution of a Staccato? And that's what we're gonna be looking at today as we figure out if this new 2011 can warrant your hard-earned dollars. Okay, before we get into a couple quick disclosures, the gun basically came from Jacob Grey, so post-SHOT Show, reached out to him, really didn't hear anything for a while. A few months later, they're like, hey, you know, gun's coming out, like, do you guys want to do a review? I was like, hell yeah. So they sent out the gun. Doesn't impact my judgment. I can still come here and be honest with you guys, but it's fair for you to know, hey, the gun did come to us from Jacob Grey. I know they do some direct stuff on their site. I know that our pals over at Covert Projects, Covert with a K, they're also a dealer for Jacob Grey. So hey, couple solutions for you if you wind up liking what you see here today. But of more important note, sponsor of today's video would be Ciguera Gear. They've been with us for a long time, big supporter of the channel, so we appreciate you guys supporting them. They make the belts that we use between battle wagons, Emissary, light inner Velcro for my personal use on EDC. They make cool mag pouches, you know, different sort of carrier systems for your vehicles. They make a lot of different stuff. It's not just belts. We talk a lot about the belts because we wear them and it's a daily use thing, but hey, I also drive my vehicle every day and I got kit from them that stays with me all the time in the vehicle. So check them out. Code is 1911 Syndicate, no spaces. That'll save you 10% off. So go check that out. On with the show. Okay, so we're here on the range and let's just go ahead and cut down right to the freaking chase, everyone. With a company, especially that's new, like Jacob Grey Firearms, maybe they're not new, but at least in the TWC, 2011 world, they're new. I think we can just go ahead and ask the core fundamental question. Does the damn thing even work? Because the review can kind of like start and stop just based on like, is it a total piece of shit? Does the thing even work? So we'll plink around a little bit and talk you through it. Just gonna shoot some A zones here, see if we can not totally miss the entire target. I started off with a C zone, so there you go. So my review sort of schedule with this was a tad bit unusual. So basically, I've just been juggling a lot schedule-wise. So the gun came to me a little later than I would typically like in terms of just like spin up time to do a review. So I did not have a lot of time to devote coming out into the wilderness like this and running the gun for afternoons at a time. So I had to basically condense as many rounds as I could into a short period of time. So the gun comes in, and by the way, because I'm gonna run a few different mags here. So this is the mags what the gun comes with. Their Checkmate mags, comes with a couple of them, 17 rounders. I'm just running some 124. So the gun came in and it looked like it was already oiled up. It looks like it wasn't, a dry gun. Jacob was nice and oiled up. So I took him over to the range and just burned it down for 250 rounds. Shot like 250 rounds in 15 minutes or less. That's enough to get a gun a good little workout, right? And get warmed up, nice and toasty, and just see what's what. Didn't have any issues. And I thought, hey, not bad. Gun shot pretty decent. Gun shot about like how I would expect it to. It's a fairly lightweight gun at 30 ounces. So I thought, all right, not a bad first day. So a few days goes by, same thing, busy schedule. I go to the range again, burn it down, 250 rounds. Didn't oil the gun up, didn't take it apart, didn't clean it, nothing. Like just grabbed the gun from the safe, grabbed 250 rounds, went to the range, burned it down, 15 minutes, 250 rounds. So now I'm at like 500, haven't had a single malfunction. So I'm going, all right, not bad. You know, again, for a gun that no one's ever heard of. How are we looking here? Am I totally embarrassing myself? Actually not terrible. So then I did that one more time. So third range day, 0 TLC to the gun, go to the range, 250 rounds, burn it down, and I'm like 750 rounds deep. That's prior to today. Today, got about another 250. So as of the time shooting this right here, right now, we're at about 1,000 rounds. I would typically like a little bit more, but 1,000 rounds is a good enough period of time to get to know a gun a little bit. And reliability can be a little, I don't want to say cliched, but I think people can overblow stuff a little bit. What I mean by that is I'm not worried about one-off malfunctions. If in the 1,000 rounds the gun had like a stovepipe or like a failure to feed, all right, cool. I'm not worried about that. I'm looking for patterns of malfunctions, not a one-off. One stovepipe in 1,000 rounds. Dude, that could have been mag, that could have been ammo, that could have been I over-gripped the gun and I came too high and I took a little juice out of the spring and it just couldn't eject the round. That could be a lot of different things. But what is fairly notable here, so that last mag was a Cabot mag. This one is from TSOS, right? So during the review process, I've been running all different mags. I've Atlas, Staccato, TSOS, Cabot, and the Checkmate ones that the gun comes with. So 5 different mag manufacturers. And if you guys don't know this, 2011s can be a little finicky on mags. Sometimes you tune mags for guns, like my Infinity. Those mags are Infinity mags. They are tuned for that gun. So this is run 5 different types of mags. And also just of note real quick, so the dot's not leaving the window. So I'm able to track the dot throughout the entire recoil process. So I mean, like, look, it is a fairly, you know, shootable gun. And as of the 1,000 rounds, I have not had a single malfunction. That's fairly uncommon for a 2011. Maybe that's overstretching. I wouldn't say it's uncommon, but I'm just saying, hey, a gun that I'd never heard of prior to SHOT Show, to come burn it down for 1,000 rounds with no TLC, that ain't bad, guys. Like, that's actually kind of like, you take note of that. This has been a reliable gun. Okay guys, so let's go through just overview, sort of 30,000 foot view of some of the features of the Jacob Grey TWC9. So price point at 25 hundo. So that is right, I mean, like almost like down to the dollar roughly where Staccatos are priced, generally speaking. I know there's different models and all that kind of stuff. I know an XC is more than that, but hey, basically it's right at the Staccato price point. So what do you get for your money? You get a billet aluminum frame and slide. Now, I would prefer that they use steel for the frame personally. I don't really care that much. To my rough understanding, a machinist will probably yell at me and correct me on something, but I believe it is cheaper. When it comes to billet, it is way cheaper to billet machine aluminum than steel, which would make some sense. But that's, you know, don't hold me to that. I'm not a machinist. But basically, point being, because of the aluminum frame and grip, you actually get a fairly lightweight gun. So the gun unloaded is coming in at 30 ounces. So it's lightweight, and I truthfully was surprised to learn that. I had shot the gun quite a bit before I actually found that out, and I was like, interesting, because the gun has a recoil impulse that to me would imply, hey, aluminum grip, steel frame, you know, we're splitting hairs at that point. I mean, it's a matter of ounces, but it's like, hey, the gun does shoot nice, given that it is a pretty lightweight, more of a carry gun style in terms of sort of its design and its weight. It's only available in Commander length currently. I know that they're more than likely going to be working on a 5-inch because that would just be a logical thing to do, but currently Commander. But Commander in many ways is probably a good place to start because it's fairly versatile, right? You could run in a competition, you could carry it, you could bedside it, class it, you could do whatever you want with it. Comes with a bull barrel. which does add a little bit more weight up front. Hey, mitigate some of that recoil. Ambidextrous safety, which I appreciate, and the gun does come with 2 17-round flush fit mags. All right, so let's talk about some of the things that the gun does well, some of the pros, right? One, I would tell you, it has a surprisingly good slide to frame fit. So basically, Jacob Grey, prior to being in the gun world, was a machinist in the world of aerospace, parts and components, right? And basically his side kind of like hobby or side business was doing custom 1911s. I don't think it's like a big business or anything. He does a dozen a year or whatever the case may be. Don't quote me on that. But hey, basically aerospace business started having some hiccups, and he says, well, screw it. We got all these nice machines. Like, let's just go fully into the world of guns. And that's basically kind of the genesis of the TWC9 is like, hey, the business pivoted, and he just said, all right, cool. We're going to go down the gun path. But the gun is, and this doesn't mean anything in terms of like audio or on camera or anything. We just got to take my word for it. Like, there is really no play in this gun, and it has an unusually glassy slide to frame fitment for a gun at this price point. Like, I would expect this from a higher tier gun, but at $2,500, it was notable. And so I always try to do a call with manufacturers, ask them some questions and stuff like that. And I just said, hey, so like, what's the deal here? Like, it's surprisingly good for the money. And he basically said, well, you know, if you're used to aerospace tolerances and how tight those are, then apparently doing a 2011 is not really that big of a deal. So yeah, it really does have a notably good action. Next is the trigger. Trigger is right at 3.5 pounds. So, you know, normal 2011 stuff, you know, you got a little bit of prep there, very minimal, and then right, hit the wall, it's clean. So it's at 3.5 pounds. That is, you know, sort of the Goldilocks zone in terms of like a do-it-all gun that's not really designed for like competition use or a race gun, but it's not duty per se. It's just kind of like, you know, we need a gun that can do a little bit of everything. 3.5 pounds is about that sweet spot, but it's clean. Like I know it sounds crazy. Like, you would really have to be into the world of 1911s and 2011s to know that, hey, some are just better than others. And while they're all pretty good, it's like, yeah, there's degrees. Some of them get, you know, it's tough to detect if you're not really into it, but it's like there can be mush and stuff, and you're like, hey, this is fundamentally, take the safety off, a good, clean, nice trigger, especially, you know, for a gun at that price point. The gun is also red dot cut, obviously, as you can see there. So the gun comes with 3 plates, and I thought that was notably good too. So currently on the gun, I got a Holosun 507C, so right, it's the RMR footprint. So basically the gun came just with the iron sights plate on. Back that off, throw this plate on, throw the Holosun on. It also, so basically comes with the iron sight plate, RMR plate, and then a RMSC plate. And what's cool about their design on this is they actually have the rear sight machined into the plate. So, and just curious if the rear sights are different sizes based on any of the dimensions of the plate. Yeah, it looks like they're basically the same thing. But it's like, hey, you know, again, from a component perspective, that's cool, you know? And just so you guys know, yeah, you can still index the irons. They're like basically 1/3 lower co-witness. But I do think, hey, getting 3 plates for a gun at that price point, pretty good. So ultimately part of the story here is I think you're getting a lot of value for your money, right? We've got metal grip with like little integrated magwell, clean trigger, good fitment, ambidextrous safety, red dot cut with multiple plates. You're going, hey, there's some good value at play here. But of course, it's not all good news. Guys, if you're looking for any ways to support the channel, one, hey, if you're a brand and you watch our show and you'd ever be interested in being involved as a sponsor, hey, let us know. We're always looking for cool new collab opportunities and brands that we can associate with. So, hey, let us know on that. The 1911 Syndicate is a real estate company behind the scenes. For those of you that have heard that for years, there you go. There it is again. And if you haven't heard that, yes, we are. We work in Salt Lake and Phoenix, Dallas, Vegas, Colorado Springs, handful handful of other cities. You can go to the website, 1911syndicate.com, check that out. We appreciate it. That is the main thing that pays the bills around here. Unfortunately, doing content, while it takes most of my time, it doesn't pay me most of the money. So, hey, we do appreciate the real estate support, helps keep the lights on. We've also got our Patreon link down below. If you guys ever want to get involved with that, we've got behind the scenes content. We do a bunch of giveaways, sneak peeks at stuff. We have private classes, like we've got our HK class later this year that is full. So no one come at me for that. That one's already full. But yeah, Patreon's link down below. That said, let's talk about some of the not as good stuff. Okay, let's talk about some of the things I would throw into the cons category. One would be the grip. And I asked the folks at Jacob Grey about this. When I spoke with them, I'm like, all right, let's talk. What's the deal with the grip? Like, what's the feedback that you guys are getting? And it sounded like, it's a mixed bag. Some people really like it, and some people are like, I could use more texture. So I fall into that category. I find the lack of texture to be kind of an odd choice. Well, not even kind of, I find it to be an odd choice. So if we look at the grip here, we've got a metal grip module. That's really good, especially on a gun that's $2,500. Like, that is unexpected. I would expect a polymer grip up until probably even like mid 3000s in the 2011 world. But I've seen grips follow the philosophy of, hey, if someone carries this, let's have these sort of grip panels on the side here be smooth. That way, when this is leaned up against your belly, it's not rubbing you. But then let's make it really aggressive on like the front strap in the back here. That way it really locks in your grip. So this basically has neither of those. It's quite smooth here. It's this kind of like diamond pattern, but it's really not much in the way of grip. And then on the sides, I mean, it's just straight up smooth. There's just no texture. And there is some, I don't know what the lines per inch is on the back of the grip here, but it's like, yeah, you get a little bit back there, but that's not really where I'm, particularly worried about the grip. So I do find that to be a little bit odd. I would like to see more grip. That said, to be completely fair about it, I haven't actually had an issue regarding it. AKA, I'm not at the range. And mind you, I talked about it earlier, most of my rounds came in like short increments, where it was like 250 like burn downs for like 10 to 15 minutes, where it's like, hey, the gun's getting toasty. I'm probably, getting, just sweatier just from holding and shooting that much. And it's like, I haven't actually had an issue with the gun like slipping out of my hands or just like moving around too much, having to re-grip the pistol a ton. So it's like, yeah, I want to see more grip on the gun personally. Even for an EDC gun, I would prefer it to have more grip, but I haven't actually had an issue with it. I think they could even maybe consider doing 2 models, or maybe like a drop-down menu where it's like, hey, do you want CCW grip, this one, or do you want like range grip that's like aggressive or whatever? I could get on board with that. So I would say, yeah, for me, it's in the con category, but it's not a con to the point of, I would say, don't buy the pistol because of that. Like, candidly, I would not let that be a determining factor in whether you buy this, because I think it has enough other good things going to balance that out. Next thing in my cons list would be the thumb safety. So it's not bad, but so here's the deal. Without going into the design of how these work, I mean, they basically like meet up in the middle, right? So if you look at when the thumb safety is on, right, this side's tight. There's really no play in it. So if we go over to my side, so I'm a left-handed shooter, so you'll see, can you see that at all on camera? So you'll notice this little bit of play that's on my side of the safety. Has this caused me any malfunctions or anything like that? No, I've had no functional issues with it. I just think like, okay, we need to like maybe go back to the drawing board a little bit in terms of the design of the thumb safety, because that it just looks cheap. Like that amount of play in my ambi side of the safety just winds up looking cheap. Again, not a functional thing, just like, I don't know, figure out how to fit it better or something like that. Next thing, holster. So caveat on this, I'm going to say holster fitment, but I can't tell if, so the gun works in a Safariland rig for like a 4 1/4 like Staccato or something like that. Works in that, has to be run with a light. It works in the tier 1 concealed MSP. I just got this thing in, right? This indexes off the light, works on that, no problem. Beyond that, I didn't actually have a holster that this gun fit. And so I even called Roger at QVO and I was like, hey, have you done anything on this? Because I know he's, I think, probably spinning up a review on one. And so his gun fits in his holsters fine. I have his holsters, mine doesn't fit in mine. So I'm going, what the hell is it? And I backed off all the retention. It's not a retention issue. So I'm like, is there some sort of funky thing with left-handed holsters and this gun? I don't know. I actually haven't gotten to the bottom of this. They have on the Jacob Grey site, I believe it's Black Point Tactical, makes like kind of the OEM holster that they're selling. I think it's non-light bearing and it doesn't like go on the Safariland stuff and everything. So I'm like, maybe not exactly the holster solution that people are kind of like looking for these days. But I'd be curious to see if they have a left-handed option for that. Because again, I don't know if it's quirky left-hand stuff with dimensions on the left side of the gun. I don't know what it is. But I've had kind of an issue with the gun fitting holsters, and that doesn't seem to apply for right-handed holsters. So I don't know. Take that for whatever you is. I haven't been able to get to the bottom of it. There's one more complaint, and this one's a little odd. And that complaint would be the name. Now, this is very petty of me, and I must disclose to you that the following complaint impacts the gun's performance, not whatsoever. But there's something about having another man's name on your gun that just is a tad bit uncomfortable for me. It's like dating a girl that has another man's name tattooed on her, and you're like, hey, you know, I get it, like you're a good person. This doesn't really impact us, but get that shit lasered off. You know what I mean? Like I don't need some dude's name on the side of you. And especially once we factor in the name and we go with 50 Shades of Grey and Christian Grey and all the weird things that happen with that, you have to be careful about how you talk about the Jacob Grey TWC. Allow me to give you a couple of examples. Did you oil up Jacob Grey, or did you just run them dry and dirty? I wiped the excess oil off of Jacob Grey. I inserted a mag into Jacob Grey. Jacob Grey is tighter than expected. Jacob Grey is 4 inches long and black. It's like, what the fuck just happened there? And guys, you can't even make up this last part. Jacob Grey Firearms is located on Sausage Road. And that is not a joke. This gun is made on Sausage Road. So let's circle back around to the original question. Why would anyone buy this Jacob Grey TWC9 when a Staccato exists? And so I think we have to think of Staccato like Coca-Cola. They are the de facto answer of what you buy when you're gonna spend $2,500. Much in the same way that, hey, if I'm gonna go buy a soda, Coca-Cola just kind of has the market share, right? And they're unlikely to ever be dethroned, I think, in that price point. I think they've built so much brand equity that it's unlikely that anyone's gonna like truly say, yeah, like we supersede Staccato now in market share at $2,500. I don't really see it happening. And yet, much like the soft drink market, you go, well, Coke's not the only soft drink though, right? There's like plenty of other ones. And those clearly carve out enough of a niche business to survive and get by. And I think that's kind of the play with doing a $2,500 2011 is like, we might be happy like playing in the niche here and like taking some of the, you know, the crumbs. That sounds negative, but it's like taking some of the crumbs of people that say, I'll play around with something that's not a Staccato for the same money. So the ultimate answer, why would you buy this? I'm going to give you two answers. One, buy it because you like it and you think it's cool. If we answer the immediate question of, does it work? Does it appear to be something that is functional and reliable and you can trust? Yeah. I haven't had a single flub, not one, like not a single hiccup. And that, I have to admit, surprises me a tad on a company that I'd never heard of who's getting into the 2011 game, because that's a tough game. That's a tough gun to make well. A lot of people are now getting into that game, and we'll see how many of them can do it good, because it's like these require more than almost like every other type of gun. So buy it because you think you like it. Is it cool? Do you think this is cool? People always play the game of like, you know, I get DMs and stuff all the time. People going, a Type A rifle or a Noveski or a Knights or whatever. And I'm like, look, man, I think you're asking the wrong question. I think the question is, are all of those things fundamentally good? And if you're gonna look at 3 different things and go, hey, I'm looking at these 3 things. And if I were to say, okay, well, this one's bad, so let's take that out of the race. These 2 are good, so take your pick. That's really how you should play the game, is like, hey, is this good? Yes. So people go, Staccato or Jacob Grey? I don't know. They both work and they cost the same. If one has more features that appeal to you than the other one, get that one. I don't give a shit. They're both good. Do whatever you want to do with your money. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is this. Here was my working sort of hypothesis going into the video, is in terms of my premise is, why would anyone buy this over a Staccato when they cost the same money and one's got a proven track record? Okay, cool. My working theory was this. What if you're spending Staccato money? What if you're spending $2,500, but you're actually getting a $3,500 gun? Is that possible? That's the question that I posed to myself at the start of the video, is like, I felt that, metal grip, despite the whole texture thing, it's like, okay, metal grip, really good fitment, solid trigger, red dot cut, all this stuff. I said, am I getting a $3,500 gun for $2,500? Because that would be a valid answer on why you would buy this, because you're not getting a $2,500 gun. You're getting $1,000 off of a gun that should be a little bit more. And I don't think it's unfair to suggest that. I think if you were to tell me, if this gun came in and you were to say, Jake, that gun's $4,000. I need to see a few things different and cleaned up and made better at $4,000. But if you were to say, hey, this gun is $3,200 to $3,500, I think you could have fooled me. I think I would have said, yeah. All right, yeah, that sounds about right. So I think that might be the answer on why you buy it. My ultimate opinion is, hey, I think for the money, it's very, very good. I think it's very, very good for the money, and you must always judge something for what it is and not what you want it to be. It's not a Nighthawk. It's not trying to be a Nighthawk. It's trying to compete with Staccato. Can it? Seems like it's doing pretty good to me. So if we wrap this up, final ranking, where am I gonna put the Jacob Grey TWC9? I'm gonna come in at a B+ here, guys. And I'm gonna come in at a B+. Did I criticize a few things? Was I petty about the name? Yes, I was. Do I think there should be more grip texture, all that kind of stuff? Yes. But this is the first thing that they've come out with. And I think that it is a worthy pickup. It shoots nice. It's been completely reliable. It comes with good features. Do I wanna see some things that I think could be a little bit better to take this into that A- category? Yeah. But as a starting place, as a B+ of a company I'd never heard of prior to January this year, it's a damn good opening statement. I think it's a damn good opening statement. So I'm giving you a B+, solid. I'd at least put my stamp of approval on it. And now you have to figure out, are you getting that or are you getting a Staccato? See you guys next week.